This frequency table is exactly the same frequency table back in lesson 4. We just added another column called relative frequency. Relative frequency is frequency of that interval over total frequency. Okay? The frequency for that interval, let's take a look at this. 2 was the frequency for the hat size extra small. 2 out of 40 total tallies is what makes up the relative frequency. So it always starts with a fraction. In this case, 2 out of 40 total. Then you got to take your 2/40ths and change it to a decimal. If you can remember 40 times 2.5 to get to 100, you can get this. Otherwise, it's D into N. 2 into 40. Who's inside the house? Luke. Followed by, and place value becomes really important. That's why I want you to take that decimal and bring it straight up. Because watch what happens. 40 goes into 2 how many times? Say it out loud. 0. 40 goes into 20 how many times?
0.
Also 0. But it does go into 200 how many times? That's why you've got to make sure you raise that rock up to the roof before you start anything. Now, what percent is that? Because once you have a decimal, you can change it to a percent if you know the rule. Somebody on this side of the room, maybe. Hunt. Tell us, how many times do you move it?
2 times.
1, 2, and get what? 5%. That's telling you that 5% of everybody that was tallied are extra small in size. Okay? They do 8 out of 40 for you also. 0.20 is what percent? Joe. Move the decimal. How many places to the right, bud? 20%. So what we're doing with lesson 5 is you're taking all of your frequency tables that you've done prior and changing it to relative frequency. In order to do that, you need to know the frequency for that interval and what the total number was for the entire data set. And sometimes I'm going to let you use a calculator, and sometimes I'm not. Because I want you to be able to know how to do it to train you and get you ready so when you take your final exam, which is no calculators, that you know how to do it. All right, let's take the next one. Medium, 15 out of how much? Because the denominator never changes. 15 out of how much?
40.
Tell us.
I just figured out what 100 divided by 40 is, or like 40 times what 40 times 100 equals 100.
Right, 40 times what makes 100? Yeah, if you can understand that and that was your constant. We did that way back in module 1. Our constant is 2.5. So whatever you get, this number, 15, will always be times 2.5. Yeah, if you can see the connection between 40 and 100, you can. But as you'll see, as we progress through this lesson, you're going to get like crazy totals, like out of 39. You can't change 39 into 100 easily. For those, I might allow you to also use a calculator, because you'll see also with some of those crazy total tallies, you're going to get numbers that are going to extend out way past the hundredths, and they're going to start to ask you to round it. That's why we did it in the warm-up. Let's get through this, because the next couple of tables, they'll get a little bit more complicated. 15 out of 40. Anybody already do it? If you do your times 2.5 rule, you'll get it. But you're going to wind up with something, you'll see. You're going to wind up with a number that goes to hundreds. What do you got?
3.75.
What'd you get?
3.75.
As a percent, what is it as a decimal? 0.375, which is 37.5%. Okay. What about 9 out of 40? I'll tell you what. I want us to take the last 5 minutes to do the Continentals presentation. I could very easily make it no homework tonight, but I do want you to finish up on your own this data table. Okay? So get through that, because I don't want to do the work for you. Now you know what to do using either d into n or your multiplicative constant of 2.5, either or. But I do have a question for you. When you're all done with your percents, what should the percents add up to?
100%.
100%. Right. This is going to add up to 100%. And now here's another question for you. If I would take all my decimals, what should my decimals add up to?
40.
Careful. Viv? 1.00, one whole. One whole, which is 100%. All right, anyway, take the next 5 minutes to do these relative frequencies using either d into, I don't want you to use a calculator, I want you to do d into n, or use your multiplicative constant of 2.5. Either or. We'll finish this up and then we'll do continentals.